31st, 2021 at 7:01 p.m. This meeting is being live streamed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We are following House Bill 404 that allows public bodies to meet electronically through July of 2021. Just want to make a note, Angela, our fiscal officer, work of council, she had a awards ceremony with her daughter at school. She's getting some honors, so she's not here tonight. Congratulate her on her daughter and her husband for her daughter getting it. That's nice. So she's not here, and I'll fill her shoes as far as roll call and stuff. So, item 2, roll call. Jennifer Allen.
Here.
Mary Brenner Miller.
Here.
Brian Spitznagel.
Here.
Raymond Whedon.
Present.
Denny Linville.
Present.
And Gloria Terlowski.
Here.
I didn't look to my right. I would have started and went this way, Gloria. All of council present, along with our law solicitor, John Montello, who is in the back, our street commissioner, Robert Kalman, and our recreation community life director, Natalie. Okay. And that's, okay. Hold on 1 second. They can take a minute from the thing. I was just thinking I didn't do the recorder, but. So. And Natalie Buck, that's the Natalie's full name. I'm sorry, Natalie. Okay, so we'll go off the YouTube. Okay. Any Kit? Any comments? Okay. We'll move on to item 4. This is something we do every year. It's required by the county. And Angela did put I just had her just put a little letter together. We're going to have it on this meeting, the second meeting. We do have time. It doesn't have to be passed. Let's see, by July 20th. But we would like to, depending on if council is going to adjourn for July and August, I would see no problem passing it for suspension in our council meeting on the 15th. It's something we have to do. We've already passed the budget. It's just sending, this budget to the county.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
Angela would normally call this a housekeeping item.
correct.
And we've done it before, and as you said, we've already passed the budget. This is just dictating to the county where these monies are going, into which funds, and also the millages. So I would have no problem with that just going as for suspension and emergency to get that done and over with in June here.
Go ahead, Mr.
Yeah, Mayor Colgraf, members of council. I just want to clarify one in my mind. This tax budget and especially the statement of fund activity. This is sort of a projection of 2022 budget. Is that correct? To make sure, because it's not housekeeping in my opinion. It's a precursor for me. It's a precursor of what the 2022 budget really should look like. And yeah, I have no problem voting for it under suspension because we know that the real budget, actual budget, won't get done until later in the year. But especially after our infrastructure committee meeting today, I think as close as possible we can begin to really project what that budget would look like for the oncoming year, the better. So I know these could be general numbers, but I'd just like for us to make sure that we have an opportunity to take a look in April, May, or June, or whatever, before we put this together, so that it may reflect a more true 2022 budget. That's all. Just wanted to say that.
Right. Which we will, and we can go over this more in the next COW meeting too. I just wanted to get it out there, have Angela get it out there, especially if we're going to pass it in June here. So if you have any questions to it, feel free to also call Angela on it.
Okay.
Any questions from any residents, Kit, related to that item? Okay. Do we have any residents on, Kit? 7. Okay, good. That was Mr. Gelati. I asked him maybe to log in, but so just let me know. Okay. Is everybody good, ready to move on to the next item?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, the Dunham Road reconstruction asphalt paving extension discussion. I know I kind of copied some of the emails and stuff. I know everybody's pretty well caught up with it. I know there's, well, let's just talk, we'll talk about the extension first. As you know, and you probably have seen, they did grind it out and stuff. I got a call from Rob and Joe, and we met there, you know, as you know, when I told you in the email, we met and looked at it, and they felt, and I feel the same way, with best interest of the village, to go all the way up the hill, okay? It stopped originally about halfway in the middle of the hill where the concrete was, and after they reviewed it some more, they felt this would be the right time to make the extension. And I think everybody here agrees with that. And so I got letters from Joe and went through it, and Councilman Whedon had a question about the contingency fund. I think everybody's seen there is $15,000 in the contingency fund. And then me and Jennifer talked, and I know Ray, we discussed a little bit through emails, and Mr. Spitznagel and Mary, all of us pretty much talked about, you know, whether or not we need legislation. I did discuss it with Mr. Montello, for us to put something together, you know, we don't really need it, but if we want it, there's no problem with that. You know, John, you want to maybe talk about that? Just if you want to come up to the mic or come up. I know you had a suggestion, and I think council is probably in agreement that this would probably work.
Sure. You know, after discussing the matter with Angela and Joe, it was determined that since there was really no major additional work, and it was part of the original bid package, that we don't probably need legislation. But it's obviously something that we can take advantage of in the original bid package, because we're getting the same pricing and the same, you know, a good deal on doing the additional work, and the same contractor, and it is not going to require any additional funds, but we can, you know, we'll use a contingency fund, so there's not really a change order. The contract remains the same. But if you want to do something, you know, that's
Yeah,
got
you
a price.
mentioned maybe like a resolution authorizing the mayor to make that expenditure.
Short and sweet, not as detailed as a change order, but just a resolution authorizing the expenditure for the additional work. If you'd like, it's not a problem. It's, you know, but the use of the contingency fund, I would say would be the resolution, you know.
The material's going to be paid for from our grant, and then, well, it just depends, because if there's still something in the contingency fund, we might use it all. It's kind of, according to Joe, it could be off from the contingency fund, or if there's, it would split it. But I don't know how you feel, I mean, the resolution, if that's
Either way is fine.
whatever.
Mayor Colgraf,
Yes.
if I may, I think I try to, I may not have made my concerns clear, but you know, the contingency fund is great. It's a great way to include in a contract some additional dollars if an occasion arises that, you know, you have a need for it. You find a different site condition or something, you need new guardrails or something that comes up. At least the funding piece for up to $50,000 is already there. However, you know, from my my experience, any additional work performed under a publicly bidded contract or any work not performed under a publicly bidded contract constitutes a change order. I mean, at the end of the contract, if there was work that was not done, that's a deduct change order. And in this case, if we're talking about doing additional work, although the funding piece is there, it's still a change order because we're adding work to a publicly bid contractor. So I'm still of the opinion that a change order is the proper way for a municipal publicly bid contract to be documented. Yeah, and I think we all agree, it's great timing, it's great cost savings perhaps, but
I mean, I could term it to whatever you like. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not, you know, I'm not gonna get into a 5-page change order like we did with the other one, but I could do a short resolution authorizing a change order for the additional work and just term it that way.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
I think that's fine.
In use of the contingency
Yeah, we
fund,
have-
just a couple whereases explaining
Right.
it to the public, what's going on, and authorizing the mayor to sign
Yeah.
any agreements that might be necessary. And there may be some, there may not be, but at least you'll be authorized to sign any changes that the contractor wants you to sign.
Right.
Right. If I may also, Mayor, if I may, I think I heard you say you may use some of the money, other money from the other award. I mean, there's still plenty of additional work to do on Dunham Road so that material money and whatnot, if that came out of a different grant, you know, why mix the pots? You already have money set aside in a contingency fund, and leave that other money for the rest of that other work that still needs to get done later.
It's a
in the year.
decision, you guys, it's up to you. That was the recommendation of our city engineer. And I
Yeah,
don't-
with that said, Councilman, I will lean on Joe and Rob, you know, because the project's not quite done yet. And who knows if we run into something else and all of a sudden that 50,000 isn't there. So that's why I made that statement, that it could go either way. You know, what we do, just to let you know, we know that the worst scenario is the $8,900 that could come out of our coffers. That would be the worst scenario. Hopefully between the contingency fund and of course, our grant. So, but yeah, as far as a resolution, I have no problem. I just take the advice, you know, from them to do that, that's not an issue. I'm just glad council was in agreement with the extension. I think that was in the best interest of the village. It was the best choice for us to make financially and for a good outcome. So that's, I'm happy with that. So put the resolution together, if council's in agreement would like that, I'm okay with that. I mean, that's up to you guys. I mean, that's not a problem. Mr. Montello can put it together. We can have it ready for review at this next COW meeting and have it for legislation for the 15th council meeting if everybody's good with that.
And then, but his other question was, should we use the road maintenance program money for this project as well? Do you think, well, you guys had a meeting today about infrastructure, am I right, or something? Or did you guid discuss other uses of that money? Just curious.
No, we didn't discuss that in the infrastructure committee meeting, but, you know, we did converse about the fact that there are a lot of roads that need to be maintained. So, you know, we have grant money already awarded for other sections of the village. Why not maximize the use of those grant dollars for those other areas, you know?
I could use, I'll word it in a way that allows us to use it, or not allow us to use it, depending on the balance in the contingency fund. If we need, if we don't use the other monies, then, well, let me think about how to word it. So I'll have something for you quickly and try to address both issues.
Very good. Everybody comfortable with that?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I understand that we were granted $22,000 for material costs for all of Dunham Road, and this small expansion would use $6,100 of that to cover the cost of materials. My question is, what would be the cost to do all of Dunham Road? From Forge Parkway to Sagamore, as the funds were allocated to us for? Do we have any idea, or can we find out what that would be?
Oh, you mean to repave it?
Yes. If we're doing all of this on Dunham Road.
I'm sorry, from Gorge Parkway to where?
Sagamore. That's what the grant is that we got the money for.
Right, and it's a maintenance grant.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
considered-
you're probably gonna be a little bit more than $22,000.
Well, I understand, but that's what my question is, because if we already have companies there, we already have this going on, you know, the traffic's already being directed on Dunham Road. Any idea on how long
Mr.
route
Mayor?
that would expand the project or cost-wise?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry,
Or
Ron.
maybe it's not-
Well, I do know as far as the cost, when we did the Dunham and Alexander intersection, now that included adding the turn lane. I believe that was $250,000.
But that was
So-
widening also, because you were adding the turn lane, it wasn't just
Sure,
repaving.
but, yeah, exactly. But as far as the amount of pavement actually that went in there, there's going to be a lot more pavement going in from the top of the hill all the way to Sagamore. Plus the digging up, they still have to dig it up and,
How many feet? Right.
you know, top it, whatever they do to put new,
How many feet, Rob, did we have for the extension? Do you remember what that was for the extension from the concrete?
It was like 305, and I talked them into 325 or something.
Right, and that was 15,000.
Right, so that's a mill and fill. It's more representative of the type of work you're talking about. We
Right.
don't have that much full depth repairs on the balance of Dunham Road to this, to the line south. So I see where you're going with that.
So to me, the
I was just trying to get an
prevention,
idea.
to me, the prevention, you know, the maintenance is the prevention and makes our roads last longer.
I'm sure it's probably a couple $100,000.
That's what I was thinking.
But we can get a quote, Joe, let's see if Joe gets on, because Rob, do you know what the not square foot, the linear foot is, it costs? Wasn't it, I forget what he said it was
You know what, it's,
for asphalt, but Joe has that, so he can give us a rough idea.
Yeah, it's just,
Jennifer,
like I
that's
said,
not-
as long as the construction equipment is there, as long as we've got this project going, to me,
Well, an extension is
Depending
different than them going
right, but
all the way
depending on
down.
the cost, you know, it
'Cause-
would make sense to be doing that at this time. It gets one of our roads in much better shape,
The only thing,
and we have the county dollars.
well, the county dollars would, that's,
Covers the cost of material only.
yeah, but the asphalt, that, you know, that's gonna be a lot. I mean, I guess, that's whatever.
I'd say
Think-
it's over $100,000.
I think it would be hard, well, if we're getting, see, the thing is, why not apply for grant money to
Mhm.
continue that? See, I guess where I'm at with it is, we have so many secondary roads that need it, and when residents ask me, Don, why aren't you doing the secondary roads? It's not an excuse, but the reason, why you're not doing the second, but you're doing Alexander, one reason is because we get funding.
Funding, yes.
So to use our coffers to do the extension on that without getting funding would make it very hard, at least I think, for us to say, why aren't you doing some of the secondary roads? I don't know how, where I think maybe there's a good chance we can, apply next year or a year down the road and get funding for the extension of it, the rest of it.
and
But
Mayor.
we can, those are questions we can get answered. Go
Mayor.
ahead, Brian.
This is the report, the road condition report, November 15th of 2020. We had this for our last meeting. From Sagamore to Gorge Parkway on Dunham Road, it's 9,500 lineal feet. Year of last resurfacing was 2007. It was considered in fair condition. There are several other roads. Like you said, I would agree to see if we can get funding for that, because there are several other roads that are poor, that we discussed, poor or fair poor, that we could spend on, even though it's, I don't want to say just, if it was just like $100,000, that's still $100,000 that could go to a road that's in poor condition.
Well, on the,
I mean, if we're triaging it.
and where I was looking was the first page of that report, where it shows county route maintenance, Dunham and Sagamore Road, it says total cost 44,000. County would be providing 22,000.
Well, if we could get the county funding, yeah.
Well, we did. That's where we're getting $6,100. We got 22,000 from
For the
county-
rest of the road, though, I'm talking.
for the county for the entire road. And according to this from Joey, Mr. Gelati, can't have it. It's saying that the cost was 44,000, so that was why
I
my
would
thought
think
process
that cost
was.
would be a lot more than 44,000.
I can't believe it's that little.
When the county gives the money for the maintenance of the road, they designate what road that money is to be used on. Okay, so when it says Dunham Road, annual maintenance, 44,000, they're covering the material, whether it's a crack seal or it's spot repairs. It's just like we did Egbert. We had some monies allocated last year for Egbert and Dunham, and we utilized those monies for a small program to do patches. So the number that's associated with the road is for maintenance only. Not that it couldn't be rolled into a project. You know what I'm saying? And that's only for materials, it's not for labor.
Right.
Mayor Colgrove,
Yes.
if I may, Madam President, the other concern with, if we were to try to roll, if you just say it turns out to be a $200,000 extension, go all the way with repaving, we have to keep in mind, again, that this was competitively bid, and you had other bidders on this contract. We had, I think, seven contractors bid on this contract, and some were within that $200,000 piece. So every time you do a change order, you extend that, there's others who can say, hey, wait a minute, we could have done that. If you had included that in your original bid, we might have been the award winner. So I think keeping it to a minimum, doing this 300 feet or 325 feet is one thing, but then talking about repaving for an additional 200,000 is a whole different element.
Well, it wouldn't be a total repavement, because again, what I'm looking at is the county road preventative maintenance that we got, and the preventative maintenance that we got from Joe. So I don't know if there's a miscommunication here, but according to this list, it should only be for this preventative maintenance, a total of 44,000, half of which we would be getting for the county, from Gorge Parkway all the way to Sagamore.
I don't think preventative maintenance for 44,000 is an.
It's not resurfacing,
It's not
preventative.
resurfacing.
Just Right. potholes or whatever.
Right.
Well, it's some intermediate repairs, it's crack sealing.
Striking, they also include striking.
Striking would be nice, yeah.
Well, let
So
me,
that was that was the reason for
Right.
the question. If we're going to extend this project, can we do the rest of the preventative maintenance for the road at the same time?
So,
I got
just
Oh,
real quick,
yeah,
it's probably around $1 million. It's about $1 million.
If we repaid.
If you mill and fill the balance of Dunham
Right.
Road to the south
I see
line.
what you're saying.
Yeah, but I wasn't talking about total repaving. I'm talking about the preventative maintenance.
Just doing the
just
preventative.
doing the
No.
preventive maintenance from where they just left.
Keep it, Mayor,
That's what I was trying to get
Yeah,
keep
at.
it
that's-
separate, you keep these projects separate, you put this out for bid, you let the smaller vendors have an opportunity to get this work. And, I mean, you're
Yeah.
talking about $63,000 potentially of resurfacing. That's a whole different potential customer, vendor base versus who bid on this Dunham Road
I would
project.
agree with that, yeah.
Yeah.
To have it, if we were going to do that, to spend those dollars now, and I see where you're coming from. But I would agree with Councilman Whedon that should be rebid.
Yeah.
And sent out as a public bid.
Right.
And I would be fine with that. I've no
Yeah.
problem with sending that out for another bid. But this $63,000 that we're getting, we only have until March of 2022. So I think it's something that should be on our
Yeah.
radar for all three of these roads, Dunham, Egbert, and Sagamore. and we should start looking at to get it started.
Yeah, I would agree.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
and I will say at this time, most pavers, they have a pretty large backlog. Not that they're not gonna bid, but they're bidding and they're getting work. So if you wanted to rebid it, we would have to jump on that immediately.
Well,
If
let me-
that's a direction you wanna go in.
Yeah, let's have some discussion I'll have some discussion with Mr. Gelati and Rob, and, you know, come up with some numbers and see what they think about the road, and, excuse me, and then I'll give it to the infrastructure committee and see what they're thinking. So, I know that is true what Mary said. I know, talking to Rob and Joe, one of the things, the concern was they wanted to know right away on that extension, because they are, when they're done with our job, they're going right
Go
to
somewhere
another
else.
job that they've already bid on in a timeline with that job. So it isn't, you know, that's it. They've already committed to somewhere else with a timeline similar to where we're at. So that would probably change the thing, but let me, Rob, you follow, and we follow where, everybody's going. We'll talk to Joe and go from there and talk to everybody, see where we're at. Any other questions related? Now, I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that road, but I just kinda wanna get through, we're good with the part as far as, Mr. Montello will put something together as far as the expenditure, you know, got that part. I did wanna update everybody, I did put there was a little packet together. Either Joe or the other engineer that's on the project, they delivered a letter today to the residents that are directly affected, and we're all kind of affected, and you can see the letter here, the one that I signed, construction update notice. So Dunham Road is being pushed up till July, well, actually, 1st of July. So it's gonna go a couple more weeks instead of the June 14th. Okay. They're hoping before July 1st, but July 1st is the date. This was also put on our website today. It was also put on our Facebook page, the village Facebook page, and the police Facebook page. So, that's that. I don't know if anybody has any questions related to that. But the project's going well. I don't know, Rob, I heard that some of the reason was material. I don't know if that was the case, or that's a little bit what I heard. I don't know if it was just they needed more time to complete the job. I don't know if you have any insight to that on why a few more weeks.
Yeah, I don't have anything solid. I've heard a couple of different things, but from, we had the meeting today, the Zoom meeting today on the update. What I've witnessed is those guys doing a remarkable amount of work on a daily basis. I think they've actually only missed one full day since we started construction. So, I don't know. I mean, they're up there planting grass. It may have something to do with the coordination with the paving contractor coming through, because, I mean, they're ready to go. They're ready to go with the paving. They're, finishing up landscaping and stuff. I don't know what the 2 extra weeks where it came from.
Yeah,
It may be product, it may be material, I'm not certain.
and with that said, just to kind of keep, in case anybody received any calls or any emails, we did have a concern from one of the residents. Me and Rob did meet with that resident. It was a landscaping concern. Rob did communicate the concerns to Fabrizi, and they did respond to us saying they will take care of that. I know, as I didn't go there today, but as of yesterday, this just all happened. What day were we there, Rob? Thursday or Friday?
Thursday?
Thursday, so it, with the holiday and stuff, but they were very responsive as far as saying they're gonna take care of it. So I know Rob will follow up with that and show. The neighbor had a legitimate concern and it was addressed. Otherwise, that was really one of the few complaints with the project. It's gone really well. Anything else on Dunham? Everybody okay with Dunham? Any questions on Dunham Road? Rob, did you want to add anything about Dunham Road?
No, I'm good.
Any questions from any residents? Yeah. Okay. We have talked to Gloria, and I know there's been some concerns, and we've been talking about Recreation Community Life Committee, so put that on the agenda, and did ask Natalie and Rob to attend the meeting just to talk about some things. I don't know, Gloria, if you want Natalie to kind of give her report first. It'd be up to you, or however you ever want. You want to run this part of the, talk about this part of the meeting, it's fine too.
Okay. I wanted to include Natalie in the
Gloria.
conversation.
Put
Can you
that-
hear me? Now?
I'm right here.
Okay. I wanted to include Natalie in with this, one of my things. Today I went up to the park. I wanted to see what it looked like. I hadn't been there in over a year with the COVID thing. Not too many people. But there was a young couple up there, and they had two children, a 3-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. So I just introduced myself to them and said that we were having a meeting tonight concerning the park. And I said, what would you like to see here? And the little kids were riding the frog and the duck thing. They just sit on it, and it moves. And the one rocket doesn't move, and the kid is so disappointed. But it doesn't have that thing on the base for it to do that, So we just started talking about different things. And as I looked around, I was just thinking about different things, and I bounced one of my ideas off at them was a safety town. But not safety town like where the kids learn the lights and, things like that. But to have a thing where they have like these little Tykes cars, and they have like a little track or something that they can ride on, or you can create a village with little houses and things like that, or maybe we can build a little car, something like that. And they thought that was a great idea for, the kids, and depending on the size of the kids too. I looked around, and friends of mine play pickleball. I don't know if you're familiar with that, and they enjoy it very much. The young couple wanted to see more equipment for the kids, for the smaller kids to sit on and ride, things like that. They missed, I guess, the merry-go-round. We took that out for safety reasons. The other thing was, I love that barn that is up there. And I think we should utilize it for something, not the inside, because I know you keep your equipment in there. But I was looking through a magazine today, and they had these animals, a sheep and a goat and things like that, and they're small, they're only this big. But if we had like wooden things that look like farm animals, the kids, and I'm thinking you could have like a ring toss see if you could bring the pig or whatever, you know, like a game thing up there for the kids. But the barn is so cute, I think we should utilize it, the aesthetic value of that barn. One other thing was, this was croquet, but it's with the hoops, but it's balls, you kick it through the thing. That's basically just a game. The other was, we talked about maybe making a garden,
That's what I was thinking.
and they have these little, I don't know, maybe 4x4 or something. Maybe the seniors could help the little ones plant, get the senior and the young. The seniors love young children, and if we could incorporate something with the seniors and the children doing something, it might be something that would be interesting, you know, for both of them. Let's see here. I think what we would need to do is to, if we, with the basketball, they told me they do play basketball up there. One of the police officers came through and was driving around. And I said, yes, but are they our residents that are playing basketball up there? And he did not know. So with the basketball and the tennis courts, they do, a couple people play the tennis courts, but there's no net. And it is in disrepair, a lot of the grass going around on things and that. But the officer, I like to see that he was there, driving around just to see what was going on in the park. And a dog park. If there was something we could do with that way in the back or something, because the young couple said that people come there and they want to, you know, they have their dogs, and of course the dogs aren't allowed up there. We have that, you know, that it posted in that. But the lady says, well, I have 2 big dogs. Is it okay if I bring them out? It's, you know, and the girl said, well, you're not allowed, you know. She says, well, you know, they won't bother you. And she brought them out, and she took them, walked them way up there. But I mean, they're bringing them in, so maybe there's some way we could do a dog thing way, you know, way in the back or something. If we, you know, if we're going to take these things out, and that's where Rob, what would it cost to take, just to make green space out of these things, or fix them up?
Well, here, Laura, because that, kind of get on thing, I mean, so, what do you want to talk, let's talk about one, like, you want to talk about the basketball courts? I think what we should get some discussion on is the basketball courts and the tennis courts. Are they worth repairing, or should we remove them? I know that's some discussion I've had with many of you here. I've had that discussion with Rob and Natalie, and, you know, and that, but I think we should probably focus on, you know, maybe do one, you know, start with the basketball court and then go to the tennis court. I don't mean, you know, but I think it's something we've talked about, and each year they get worse. Which, did you look at both of them today? Did you? Okay.
Well, that's just it. I think if we put something in the journal and said to replace the basketball court, it would cost X number of dollars. The tennis court, X number of dollars. So let's say it's $100,000, just a figure. Could we use that $100,000 in some other capacity up there, as some things I mentioned, and let the people tell us what they want. Do you want basketball, or do you want a dog park, or do you want this? There may be ideas we never even thought of. 5 years from now, these kids could be playing some game we never heard of, that they want whatever the equipment is for it, you know. But
Or do you want a basketball court, a tennis court, or your road done in your development?
right, when they see the
I
cost
mean,
of it,
that's where, you know, I mean, I was thinking about this whole thing about, okay, so let's say we go and we put in you know, you look at thing, you go put a new basketball court in. What are you doing with my road? You spent whatever it would cost to put in that. You know, I I mean, that's fine to put it in there, but if you put something like that in there, you gotta also, we don't wanna let people think, well, okay, we're doing that, but does that mean they're also gonna do this? Or, you know, I don't, to me, I think, where I think it's at, is I think, this is just me, so you can have this as, I think we need to make a decision whether or not we should remove the basketball courts, you know, and either put them in or not put them in at this time until we have the funding for it. The tennis court's a little different because there is a fence around it. My only issue with any of them is if they're not safe, if we're determining that they're not safe, then we do have to make a decision because we can't have any area that's not safe.
Yeah, that's one thing.
That's the thing. If it's the basketball, the tennis court, if they're not safe, we can put a lock around the fence and say, stay out. The basketball court, we don't have that option.
But that was one thing I noticed, the fence was looked like in excellent condition. So it was the inside, there was the court itself, but the fencing around it looked like it was perfect to me. No, I didn't see any rust from where I was. My thing was to ask Natalie what her future plans were, or that she has thought for the up and coming year for recreation.
I don't know how much they get used, but I had 2 people call me today about the tennis courts, that they want to use them. And there are no nets there, but we found them. They're in the barn. I'm not sure why they were taken down. It must have been before I started here. Probably because of COVID, I'm guessing. But we can put them back up. But again, the court is probably not safe to play tennis, but they want to play tennis. I don't know who uses the basketball courts, but again, those aren't safe, and it's open for anybody to use it.
Let's see that word.
There's a question.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Ken.
You can finish, I just wanted to.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
This is, I think, Brian's wife. Is there grant money available to help fund the basketball court and tennis courts?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
That was something I was going to bring up, because Brian had applied to the Cavs
Yeah.
1 year, two years
Couple
ago,
times, more than
or
once.
something, and so I was
Yeah.
just wondering if you know if that's still available.
I have that, no, I don't know, because I'm sure they weren't giving any money out for last year because of COVID or anything. I could check. I do have the documentation right here. This was a letter dated January 9th of 2019, which was our turn down letter from the Cavs. It said, thanks for your request for the grant for the Cavaliers Youth Foundation. Unfortunately, we're unable to accommodate your request at this time. What I had submitted was the cost of taking out that cement. I believe Rob helped me with that. Taking out that, it was asphalt, not cement, taking out that cement and putting in another type of surface. That surface was actually, it actually looked like this. And they're little tiles. This is a professional company that makes these. This is the actual indoor-outdoor surface. And they're tiles, and they go on top of a base. This was $15,000 just for the tiles, and they would create the tiles however we wanted, to say Walton Hills and all that stuff. That does not include doing the base and all that stuff. If I remember correctly, I've got the thing on the computer, on my computer. I think it was, do you remember, Rob, did we ask for like $30,000, $25,000? It was somewhere in that neighborhood.
Probably the base, we were around 30,000, I think. It was
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, it was somewhere around there. This is, you gave me this. This was dated 11/21 of 18. This was for removal and replacement of the asphalt only, and this was $20,000 in 2018. So that's the type of money I'm sure we're talking more than 20,000 right now, obviously. I did take, these are 2018 pictures, but you can, I'll pass that around. It is in deplorable condition. I would not want to keep that surface there as is. I would say at the very minimum, if we did not want to spend the $20,000 at this time or $25,000 to do that, I would rather turn it into green space until we can, and I'll be glad to work on some more grants to try to get something. And I did have a very short conversation with the mayor before, and I said, it may even be a little bit better for us in terms of getting a grant now if we were able to say our court was in such deplorable condition, we had to actually take it out, and now we have no court for our residents and our kids to play on. That may give us a point or two more, actually, in you know, the way they think about giving these grants out. I don't know. But it's my belief that we need to do something with it, either fix it or take it out. And we discussed some things in our infrastructure committee meeting where I believe the money right now could be better spent. So it would be my recommendation to just take it out for the time being until we can get the money to do something appropriate with it. And as far as the tennis courts, I really enjoy playing tennis myself. I haven't played in years, but love to do it. But those courts are deplorable and they're unsafe for playing. I wouldn't play on it for fear of breaking my ankle. Mary, I can't take, and Gloria had the idea too, but Mary had a wonderful idea yesterday that I can't take credit for, so I'll let her propose that.
What was that
The
about
garden.
the garden?
The
Well,
garden.
that was what.
Yeah,
Right.
for the tennis court.
I said the same thing, that Gloria said, and just this morning, I was reading a short article about a woman in Colorado who runs a small daycare called Little Sprouts, and how she got them involved with a nursing home. And COVID, of course, kind of stopped it for a while, but they would go once or twice a week. And the seniors started to look forward to it, and the children benefited by having like a grandparent and learning things and doing crafts. And the seniors were just waiting for them to come because some didn't have visitors, what have you. And, you know, well, I think back of how much I learned from my own grandparents. And maybe some of these children never planted a garden, you know. But the final decision is going to be whatever you think the park needs, the children need, which would be most beneficial. But the first thing I did say when we were here at the memorials, I said they should have a garden of some sort. Plant vegetables. Then you could have like a farm market some evening or something, and all the things that they made they could sell and learn about, take money. And I mean, I was just going on and on with it, but that was just one idea. But I agree with Brian that whatever is decided, it should be taken down because it's really unsafe.
Well, let Rob, we had this conversation, so let Rob share some thoughts. What we talked about with, you even talked about maybe doing the removal in-house. We talked about that. At one time, you did kind of talk about maybe you could make some repairs, but then we kind of, you know, just kind of share a little bit about your thoughts on that basketball court.
All right,
As far as the condition and what, you know.
I met actually our engineer up there, Joe, on Friday in the rain, and we took a look at the basketball court, and we have a ballpark idea of what it would cost to take away the largest areas of concern, but unfortunately, we've let that go so long, I would hate to throw any money at it. because it's not alleviating all the trip hazards on the overall surface. I mean, we can make it look better, but it's almost like throwing good money away. I mean, and you're gonna be $3,500, $4,000 to take care of the largest, self-performing it with, you know, in-house and taking care of the largest problems there. But you're not taking care of all of it. So I couldn't even recommend it at this point. It'd be a waste of money. As far as removal, that we'd perform in-house. So, I mean, our guys are here, you know, we're almost like a fixed price. This is what you get. You get, you know, 8 guys up at that service department. We get caught up with grass cutting and the other things we have on our plate, we can scoot up there and remove it, plant it, so.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'm sorry. You know, I'd like to have a basketball court up there, but I would rather have green space than look at something that looks like junk. And right now, it looks like junk. It looks like we live in a very poor community. If someone just took a picture of our basketball court. And that's not how I want Walton Hills reflected. Unfortunately, we don't have $30,000 to put into it. New, and we're just talking about the surface. New backboards or nets, I think they were a few $1,000 a piece in my paperwork here somewhere. So, you know, you're talking about another $5,000 or so for those.
Oh, and they definitely need to be up.
So, yeah, to me, I would hate to not have that, but I hate even more going up there and looking. Yeah, it was $42.95. This was back in 2018 for two basketball hoops. So that would be my recommendation as a councilman to have the men of the service department remove it for now.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Kit.
Fred Nielsen said a garden would need to be fenced in because of the deer.
Right.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, what?
the park has had a garden program up there for years that the kids have done. I don't know, my only concern is I don't know what the legality would be with bringing outside people in to work with the kids, because as is, the Parker program is set up that there are only certain adults that can sign the child in and sign them out, and they have to be listed on that paperwork. So I don't know
I don't think.
what that would be, but I just wanted to say before, I know we're talking about the basketball hoops, but the garden has been up there for years already.
But I think what would be nice is, what we didn't have, I think, is a garden for, not for the Parker program, a garden, a community garden.
Right.
Well, that would be
I
something.
think that's what,
I had actually
conversations
thought
I've
about
had with
that
Mary
years
in the
ago, and
past.
I had mentioned it, but it was gonna be too much of a challenge for the village,
Right.
so, yeah, I'd love to see a
And you
community.
need a bigger area, you know, but
Yeah.
it would be for, you know, so. Go ahead, Rob.
Take the tennis court out, leave the fence up, plant the garden inside.
Well, that was gonna be our next conversation, tennis court. Go ahead, Ray, you had it.
Yeah, Mayor Kohlraff, safety first, I agree wholeheartedly, safety first. And I walked the basketball courts and the tennis courts last week. The basketball court, once it's ripped out, is done. Now, we went a whole year plus with the basketball courts closed down with cones inside, you know, but once it's done, it's done. Now, I know that we have younger adult residents in this village who ask the question, what recreational items are there for us? We know the seniors are covered, some of the youth are covered to some degree with Parker and the kiddie stuff at the park, but the adults ask the question, what are the recreational items for us available in Walton Hills? Now, I don't remember a couple years ago, before I was on council, there was I don't know how you all did it, there was a project with the Speedway. And somehow the community came together and to resurface the Speedway. And I don't know what all the particulars were. Before we rip that court out, I just wonder if have we done all of the potential brainstorming to rehabilitate that basketball court. I don't play basketball myself, but I know that there are other adults in this village that are looking for recreational outlets, and basketball and tennis are two that adults can still do. And I just want to make sure we exhaust all means before we rip it out. Take the hoops down, nobody's going to play basketball without hoops. Take the hoops off. I just wanted to throw that in there before we rip out the concrete and see if there's a way, grants, a community fund, something. You know, how do we do the Speedway? Anybody remember how do we?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
That gentleman got that money from individuals and companies by himself. There was no village funds
Okay.
put towards that.
So there was a community rally, so to speak, led by a resident or so to get that. But there was a way. It got done. It got,
Sure.
okay. And that was a total resurface?
No,
No?
I don't believe so. That was just, they filled some areas or whatever. It was not a resurface.
It made it look good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they
Mr.
put a coating on it. I believe they put a coating on it. Did they put some sort of a top
seal.
coating on it or seal? They sealed it, yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
I agree with Councilman Whedon. I mean, it's a safety thing, but maybe for now, the best way is to just take the hoops down. But it's not just adults, it's our teenagers too. You know, my son goes up there. He's got one at home, but, you know, when he's with some friends and stuff, he'd like to go up there. And there was portable hoops in the parking lot. Are those still there? So I don't know if that's a possibility, even just as a temporary, a couple of portable hoops way down at the end of the parking lot by the shed, you know, for the time being. I think there are other options that we can look at for doing something for these people that are kind of lacking in the village, unfortunately. I don't know if maybe, it used to be the church, the community center, used to have basketball hoops there. You know, that people obviously weren't playing when church was in session, you know, in cars and things like that too. But we do have some other options, I think, possible. Ideally, keeping it at Delwood would be the most logical place, you know, for it to be. But I think initially to take the hoops down so that it's not a safety issue, because nobody is going to want to play, as Councilman Whedon said, if they're not, you know, they're not there. That's a quick, easy fix.
But it doesn't stop people from walking through there and just playing on the court. That's where the issue comes in. So you take the hoops down, it might stop people from playing basketball, but it still doesn't stop them from going on the court. If you feel they're going to trip on the court, then you have to make a decision, okay? Because you still have access to the asphalt.
Sure.
Well, whatever you're playing on, you're going to see the Parker kids play up there.
But
I guess that's where it's really the surface that is, you know, you might not get a group of kids. You know, we had basketball inside. It worked out pretty well. We used the Dunham Road Church of Christ, and then we had adult basketball. It was like every Thursday, and it ran for a certain amount of time, and it worked pretty well. Just there was a lack of people going there and stuff, but that's something we can always talk to them about, the pastor there, and see if we can renew that. Tonight wasn't, just so you know, we don't have to make any decisions, and I think it was important, really, like everybody said here, you know, let's think about, or whatever, but I think we needed to start talking about it, and that's why I talked to Gloria and put it on there. You know, Ray, and I'm a basketball fan, so you know, and I played on that court, even last year during the pandemic with Connor and my son, and you know, you make the the best of it, you know, but it is bad. Now, to me, you know, you can always put up a half court. A lot of communities are putting up a half court, similar to what we have down at the lake club has. And the half court gives you that advantage of going up there, shooting hoops, having a little half court game. There's less expense with that. And it does, I hate to say it, it just prevents a lot of kids from hanging out. A lot of communities with full courts, they have a lot of kids hanging out. And that's the only thing bad about by the garage with the portables is we have a residential house very close. Okay? It'd be nicer if the court is more out, because with that residential house, let's say if you have a group of kids down there, and kids are great, but not everybody wants to hear that. No, you know what I'm saying? I could just, and we've gone through that in years past. Kids playing, and why are they playing out close? You know, right next to my house. You know, you're in the parking lot there, and that's right. You know, there's really not much of a buffer between the first house there and our parking lot, and where those, you know, those portable hoops, as if you guys, so you know, they're right by the barn there. You know, they're right there, so.
Could, Mayor?
Yeah.
Could one of those hoops be moved to the other end of the parking lot way down, and where they could play a half-court game, just one hoop? And
Well,
that's
what
all I ever played was half-court. I'm too short to run a full court. But just, you
That's
know,
what I was talking about, is down
put
by
it
the
down
shed.
at the very end,
instead.
and
That's right.
maybe just cone that area off so cars don't go there. And let them play there. And I want to ask Rob, you know, to keep this, the current court, and I'm not a construction guy, I'm not a paver, so I'll defer to Rob, but sometimes there comes a time in everything where it becomes more efficient to just put new in rather than try to keep putting Band-Aids on something that you're not going to get the wear and tear out of it.
Right.
And you're just throwing money at it, and it's ultimately not going to work out as well as a new one.
And that's where you're at. You're not going to get the results you desire out of patching that. You can patch the largest areas, but what's happened due to infiltration of water under the surface, you have pumping of different areas, so it would just be too much. You'd still be trip hazards after spending the $3,500 or $4,000.
Yeah,
So it only makes sense, truly. If
So
you're going to leave it there, pull it out and replace it.
So that's where I'm at in this. I agree with Councilman Whedon and Ms. Allen, Councilwoman Allen, about the kids need someplace to play. But even if we had the money today and we said, Rob, go ahead and patch this up, it would still be a hazard. So to me, the short end of this is this surface is no longer viable. So we need to do something with it. And in the meantime, we can have a half court down at the other end of the parking lot. There's only a very few times during the year, community days when that parking lot was jam-packed to begin with. So I don't see where any issue is, a safety issue or anything like that. But I see more of a safety issue with this being here, and like I said, even if we were going to tell Rob to start patching tomorrow, it would still end up being not a quality surface that you would even want to try to play on.
I guess maybe a way to, because I guess that's the conversation I have with, me and Rob had was, if you brought a contractor in and said, okay, fix the basketball court, and they say, well, I can't, I got to tear it out. So the answer's already there. We have to tear it out. If we tear it out, we do it in-house, then we can all, you're going to have to do that anyways. but at least we made that area safe, and it can be used whether we plant grass or we put a garden. Well, garden's kind of, late, you wanted to start doing that in spring. If you gotta start there, then the answer's already there. I mean, if council feels that they might spend that money, then I guess it'd be worth us finding out from a contractor. Maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to get a quote, just to kind of see, or if they actually say, a quote to redo it, or, yeah, you have that one, that's true, from 18.
Yeah, from 18, even
So
if
that's
it's,
20,000, and if anything, it went up.
that's just for pavement.
Yeah, that's just for paving.
That was the subsurface prep,
And it
Yeah.
was probably in better shape then
a little bit.
than it is now.
Can I make a recommendation?
Yes,
There's also the batting cages, that area.
Yeah.
It needs to be fixed. It looks as nice as a basketball court, but maybe that could be, we don't need batting cages because there's no baseball here. Maybe that could be an area for basketball. It's a smaller area, of course, and maybe there could be a hoop there. Just a suggestion. It does need to be fixed as well.
yeah, isn't the asphalt bad in there
Yes,
too?
it is.
So
It
you're-
is fenced, it's fenced,
Right.
next to the racetrack. We could do something. The reason why the basketball hoops are in the parking lot on that side is because we block off the parking lot for the Parker camp, and no cars go in there. On the other side is where the cars go.
Yeah, that's true too.
So it's not safe to be playing in the parking lot. So we block off that other section, and that's where the bus parks too.
But that's during the Parker program.
Yeah.
This is for in the evening or at night too, some of the concerns for the residents that go out there, that want to use the facility. That's where,
Yeah, I don't know, can you block off the other parking lot? I thought that one was always open.
no, but we don't vary unless you have baseball, there's that parking lot, there's really nobody ever out there. I mean, I walk the track, on a regular basis, I got a pretty good idea.
We also have a volleyball court that needs sand or else it's.
But we want to I think we should talk about the tennis, or if you want to talk about go ahead and talk about whatever you want to talk about. I just was just trying to kind of stay,
On the basketball.
instead of getting off on one thing or another, because there's many issues there. And, the tennis courts, the advantage we have with the tennis courts, they're unsafe to you can say you can't go in, because it's fenced. The basketball courts, and it's the same thing with the batting cages. You can put a lock on it, but the basketball court, we're not in that situation.
Mr. Mayor, do you have any idea how old that basketball court is?
It's probably original, it's probably 45, 50 years old.
It's almost 50 years old, because I remember
Yeah, I can believe
many, many years ago, and I was playing volleyball. We used to put up nets, but that was pristine, and we used to play volleyball on that too. Don't hit the ground.
Because I haven't seen basketballs like that anywhere else.
It's close to 50 years old, easy.
Yeah.
And the tennis courts are probably they were even older. So,
I wanted to add too, the tennis courts can be used for pickleball as well. You play pickleball on the tennis court.
Well, how can they be okay for one sport and not another? You
It
mean
can be, you can play pickleball on those
If
tennis
it was
courts.
fixed.
Oh, even if it's fixed? Oh, okay. But now we can't, right
No,
now?
I'm just saying you can use it for
Oh, right,
pickleball as well.
right. So it would have a dual purpose then.
Mr.
But
Mayor,
that's a bigger expense. What would it cost to repave the tennis court? That's a large area.
I didn't put a number together for that.
So it's gotta be, would you say it's double the basketball court area?
It's different material too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
And when they put in those, believe it or not, those posts are like in cement that are huge, a foot because they're constantly hitting. And that's the big expense there.
Mr.
That's
Mayor,
probably $50,000.
I would like to ask Rob, since he would probably be the one doing it, what do you think the best suggestion is with this right now?
with the basketball court? That's tough, honestly, because I'm glad I'm not you guys. The basketball court's not good, we should tear it out. I'm just a guy that you tell to tear it out. Volleyball's not good, drainage issues over there, we should tear it out. You guys got a heavy decision to make. I agree, everything makes sense. You're gonna have to tear that surface off of that basketball court anyways. So that's gonna go no matter what.
Would it be possible to save the hoops that are there if you just tore out all the asphalt? So we have the potential of putting that back in eventually?
You could save the hoops, but those aren't hoops I'm not even a basketball guy. You don't wanna keep those hoops.
Yeah, no.
I mean, if you're gonna put something in new, geez, oh man, you go the extra 5 Gs and throw a couple of hoops
Yeah.
up.
I can't even believe that. I got my son a brand new one and it was like $400 and gorgeous and outdoor and permanent.
Right, and then you get even the heavy-duty residential ones are 1,500.
Yeah.
I mean, so,
And by the time you tear them, they're old steel backboards.
Oh, they're old.
Yeah, they've served their purpose.
Right.
You know, they've served the village well.
Lots of years.
Well, and again, Robin, what do you think the best alternative temporarily for a potential basketball court somewhere would be? I mean, you know the village just as well, if not better than anybody, so.
I guess you could, can you leave the temporary boards over there by that barn? Get a half court painted on the parking lot over there? And
Well,
that's what-
again, can we do that down by the shed because it's further away?
Well, isn't the shed over by some houses
Right,
though,
yeah,
too?
Yeah, I thought that's what the mayor said, it was close to residential areas. You're gonna have the kids' voices
You wanna go down by
echoing.
where the racetrack is, right? That area.
How about that into the parking lot?
That's what yeah.
I mean, you put a half court over there,
That's what I thought.
you
Yeah.
could take
The
and,
north side, yeah.
Right.
you could plug, you could do anything. You could plug a couple of those 6x6 posts in there, designate the last 10 spaces to a half court, 12 spaces, parking spaces to a half court. You could do that,
It's a solution.
Parking lot level, parking lot's good.
just right there. Put a hoop in, take the other one out. It's just, I'm spitballing
The
ideas.
parking lot's in good shape, right? It's in decent shape.
It's not bad.
I haven't been down there in a while. Does it slope or at all? I know the land slopes down, as you have to walk down to where the batting cages are and stuff, but is the parking lot itself relatively level in that area?
For the most part, it's pitched slightly for drainage.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, so-
probably the best we're gonna get in a makeshift situation
Right.
at this point, so.
I don't even know if you need it. Do we have that? I don't know. I don't see, you know, whether you need a makeshift. I know they use it for the parkers during the day, and I know you need that for some of the older kids at the Parker program. Whether or not you need a temporary basketball court in the parking lot, I mean, I guess you could decide that. I don't know if you need that until you're ready
When
to
I
put
was-
in a nice one. I don't know.
Are you talking about painting the
Yeah, I mean,
parking lot?
investing and putting money into something in the parking lot and stuff.
I mean, when I was a teen, I believe it or not, I played quite a bit when I was a teenager, and I didn't care if it was marked or not. We made our own stuff. We played, kickball in the street, and we played, that was the best time I had as a kid. We didn't need markings for anything, so, I mean,
Well, if we're just moving the temporary portable hoops, there's really no cost there.
right.
If we don't think that it's necessary to stripe, I mean, I really don't see putting out 20 or 30 grand on a basketball court right now,
Right.
especially when we're struggling and we need to find 50 grand to get our streets restriped,
Right,
because that's a major safety issue in the village. But I don't want to take the couple of little things that the teenagers and the younger adults, do and enjoy. That's my where I'm coming from with it. And I do like Rob's suggestion of putting it down there.
Yeah.
I think that would be a nice thing.
Put it down there.
Put it
you gotta
down
like
there,
it.
It's in the same
mark
area.
it off.
In the
Because
same
you
area.
gotta keep
Yeah.
the two hoops, what Natalie's saying, by the barn, because during the Parker program, they close off the parking lot.
But that's part of the parking lot would still be closed off.
Right.
So we wouldn't have to keep the hoops by the barn at all. We could just move them down to the end of that section of the parking lot. And then if the guys in-house can rip everything out, I mean, that's gonna cost us salary and Rob's back.
Yeah, I mean,
If we can have a kind of a solution, but still get rid of the
Safety
danger,
issue.
yeah, the safety issue, then, and if we're gonna do it at a minimal of no cost,
I think that's what I would say do that. That's my opinion right now.
I mean,
Oh, yeah, I think removal of the basketball court is
Yeah,
the
I
only
think that's
option
the
you really
major
have.
as a safety issue too, it would be easier for the parkers, the counselors, to keep an eye on the kids at the other end of the parking lot instead of behind the pavilion.
Right.
How do you say this is where parking stops, and here's where the basketball, because it just got striped last week, too.
When you're pulling in, the right hand is what's blocked off completely, right?
And coming, yes, on the right.
Okay, well, what we're talking about is to go down that right end all the way to the end.
Right.
And that would be, from the pavilion, you'd be able to see the kids there easily playing.
Yeah.
If an adult is in the pavilion, they can't see the kids behind the pavilion.
Yeah, but how do you say this is where the last parking spot is? It just got striped. You gonna restripe?
Right.
I probably should have waited on striping, huh?
I mean,
There's gonna be,
Get some black paint.
there's no gate, there's no,
yeah,
I think
I don't
what
even know
needs-
that
I
that's
Do we have big
Yeah.
cones? Can we
I
just
think
use
what
cones?
needs to happen when it comes to that, moving the basketball courts, I think
That should be a
that needs to
separate
be
meeting.
worked out with the
Yeah.
Parker program and see how it works, kind of get an idea for that. Whether to move, I mean, we can move them at any time,
right.
you can.
I'm just saying, because the cars will already be blocked off. During the
Right.
Parker program, they won't go there.
Right.
Where they're at now, there's parking spaces, and stuff.
Well, can't you put up sawhorses to stop them from going in a certain way, direction?
Well, I think, Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, whatever you want to do on that.
Mr. Mayor,
That's,
I think
if
the
you're moving
decision-
it, that's not a problem.
I think our decision should be whether or not we should, that's what we're deciding on really, is about removing the old basketball court. And then all the other decisions will be, we can meet with you at another time, how to do this. If you want to do it that way about moving the court down there. I mean, we could go on for quite some time about how to do this, but I think our major focus right now should be deciding on removing the basketball court. And I think we all feel that that needs to be done.
My conversation, we all make that decision together. I agree that the basketball, because let's say we did have the money to redo it, they're gonna have to be torn out anyways.
Right.
I don't think we have the finances at this time to do it. I don't think that, I agree with council that this isn't, the right time. So, you can go and take a look at it, or we can make that decision tonight.
No, I think it should be torn out. If you're looking at me, it's my opinion.
Yeah, take it out, take the hoops down, put them in the auction. For somebody that played when they were a kid.
Well, they'll probably get ruined when they take them down. I mean, those things are probably cemented in like they never cemented them in, 50 years ago, those things, they don't move.
No,
Yeah.
I mean,
the kids have
And
climbed all
Rob,
over
he's
those
gonna go in
things.
there with a backhoe and
Dynamite.
he's gonna, I mean, it's to save them, who would want them, Lori? I mean,
You never know.
it's, but,
I know one person that would want.
and then the basketball courts, since they're portable, you can move them, with that suggestion or whatever, that's an easy
That's the easy
fix. You can
part.
see how it works and and how people are receptive to it.
I think most people, even if they're going there, they're not concerned with it being striped as a half court or anything else. You know, the
No.
parking spaces being there isn't going to,
No, they're just gonna play basketball.
right,
Right.
that's it. So to me,
Yeah,
that's the
they'll say,
easiest
"Okay,
and
here's the
quickest.
foul line, you know, here's the foul line, and, you know, like everybody does.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a, even to invest in another one, if those aren't in good shape, that's not a big expenditure
Right.
or whatever, that's, so how does council feel about everybody in agreement to remove the basketball court for now? Or do you want to wait? I know Mr. Wigan mentioned thinking about it, or anybody have it? I mean, we just wanted to get the conversation started, whether we made a decision tonight or not. That's what, go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, Mayor, I just want to say, my comments about, making sure and we already did some of that with coming up with a temporary solution. So even if the courts come out or, first of all, shut down, I think it's the key piece there, shut down until the crews can get there to take them out. Taking the hoops off shuts down the court. And then you just go from there. I mean, if we have a temporary solution, basketball to some degree is still available with the half court wherever we place that. And then you look for options as to whether budget-wise or grant-wise, either put a basketball court back in there or temporarily put in a sand volleyball court, in that space or something. And you can do something like that and give you another recreational piece until you can decide whether basketball ever goes back. So I'm good with shutting it down. I mean, first and foremost, from the safety aspect, closing the basketball courts.
But not moving forward with removing it?
And removing. I mean,
Oh,
when they get to
okay.
it, Yeah.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. If Rob can do this in-house, we got Parker program starting on the 14th, I believe. So, not to put any pressure on you, Rob.
I'm going on vacation.
No pressure.
Then we'll call Jeff.
There you go.
But yeah, pull it out then. I mean, Rob said, I trust his opinion, with it and stuff too, along with everybody else's, and I think we've come up with a good suggestion for the time being. So,
Yeah, we've sectioned it off before. We can put caution tape or whatever and section it off until Rob gets to it. I hate to put a time frame on it with him because, with his staff, because they got a lot going on, so it's good.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'll continue to look into, I'll look into another CAVS grant. I don't know if they're having them this year or next year, but I'll look at that and look at some other options for some rec grants and see if we can come up with something.
I think what we could do, you can do a nice half court, and for less than a full court, but just you could even make it nicer. You know what I mean? You could put in a nice hoop, nice, probably even an adjustable one, and stripe it nice, and you go with a half court. A half court, it's been a lot more receptive in areas. A half court, gives your residents a lot of options. But that's something to think about down the road. Or maybe a garden.
whatever.
So I guess that solved the basketball hoops. Because they're not good. It's the right move. It's truly the right move. And then once they're down, we can decide how to proceed. Maybe the CARES money always comes into my head on that. You think, oh gosh, would we be able to use some of that CARES money for that? Just like I know you probably talked about it in the infrastructure committee with the roads, and we did talk to Joe about that. I don't know where this, where park equipment comes in or something like that. It might fall into this category. So I think that's something we'll have to take a look at too, as far as the CARES money.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Natalie, didn't you have something a couple of months ago about, you had a grant, a recreation grant, and it was $5,000 for up at the park, we could use it for equipment?
I have to use it for handicap, playground equipment.
Okay,
You don't get much for $5,000.
no, but it's something.
Yeah, go ahead and talk about what you and Rob, and we talked about it after our staff meeting.
Well, I was looking at the different pieces of equipment, and we were looking at a swing for handicap wheelchairs, and we were also looking at, they're like these boards that go along the track that could probably be for handicapped or just anybody. Can't get a lot with $5,000, but the one thing that we do need is a surface that a wheelchair can travel on. So it's got to have cement base with maybe like a sponge surface or asphalt. So, and you got to be able to get out of your car in the parking lot onto a walkway to this area. So that's where the expense is going to come in too, as well. So although we got a grant,
Is there some other avenue that we could use for, like the walkway? What is it? Disabled, there's a, what do they call that, handicap thing?
Special needs.
No,
ADA?
it's just, it's. we could
ADA?
just- Yeah, ADA, or something to go, you know, tack that onto it, if there's maybe some way that that could be used.
well, I was kind of looking at what we had already there, trying to see the easiest way to go from the parking lot to another piece of pavement that's already there, and then put this structure onto some new pavement. So I had some ideas. Basically, it's one end of the parking lot where we were talking about the shed. The other side, where we were talking about the basketball area. And I know the mayor mentioned the circle. But there isn't really a walkway, and there's a little bit of walkway, but you still need this area to put the structure on. So that's cement. Some kind of cement or asphalt. So, yeah, although I got $5,000, it doesn't go far.
That's okay. Do you have any ideas for the future up there for different things?
I know that this is an older community. I feel like it's gonna turn over at some point in the future. You're gonna see young families coming in with kids, and I hate to like remove everything, you know? They need things to do. Kids need stuff to do. And the park group program as well, you know? I hate to see it, you know, pulling all that out, but you do what you can do.
Are you planning trips for seniors?
Not yet. I'm doing my first dine-in lunch in June. But I'm also doing a pickup lunch. And then for those who are not able to drive, we're gonna drop off lunch if they're not comfortable coming in. So we're gonna offer everything and see what happens. But some people are still not sure about coming in yet. So we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, share that, Natalie. I know you passed out a flyer last week and told the residents we're going to have both
Right.
in dining and out dining, and I was kind of surprised. I thought almost all our seniors, but Natalie, what would you say? About 50% said they're still probably going to pick it up?
Not even. I mean, they have to think about it. I'm glad I did the flyer because a lot of people couldn't say, usually they tell me, oh yeah, put me down. Put me down. Ray knows. they put me down for, drive-through, but when I offered both, they were sure. So some people were and some people weren't. I only have like 20 RSVPs for next month, which usually I have at least 50% tell me that they're gonna come. So I said, think about it, you can call me. So, and I'm getting calls now, some saying yes, some saying, we'll just pick up. So, but we are also offering the drop-off. Somebody asked about that. We're doing that as well.
I read the journal earlier, and it had the fees, transportation fees in
Yes.
there. With a friend of mine, and she could not believe it, how we can take people to these places for that kind of money. Because believe me, I'm at all the hospitals and places around here, and what they charge for parking and everything else.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the greatest things that we have in this village is to take people if they need to go to the doctor or shopping or something like that. We take care of our seniors like no one else takes care of their seniors.
Mm-hmm.
You had 70 residents at the last senior lunch hour.
We've gone up to 80. I think the last month was 80.
I think you'll get more. It's everything, the weather's changing, it's getting nicer, and people want to be with their friends, you know?
I think going, continuing the option
Right.
through the summer and even long is a great thing. You know, because some people may take a while before they're actually comfortable with, and some people might not, it's a great option, some people might not want to come in ever, even, you know, maybe some people just want to pick it up. So it's, you know, I'm glad that option is there, and it might be something we might even just continue, you know, giving them that option to just pick up a lunch, why not? You know, maybe not everybody wants to come in and
Right.
Socialize. Let's, not to get thing, what do you know, we got, and the reason I don't mean to say, it's just, what bothers me when somebody brings up the safety issue, it's just something I feel we have to address. Tennis courts, okay, put a lock on them?
Well, they're locked right now, aren't they?
You know, I saw the gate open, so somebody said they were locked, but it was open last week, and I heard that someone was playing tennis without the nets. So, and I know people want to use them.
Yeah. Or do we play at your own risk? I mean,
That should be
No.
up there to begin with.
yeah, but then when you put that, I know Mr. Montello will probably give a opinion on that, then that means you're saying, you know,
It's dangerous.
yeah, I just, because I agree with what you're saying, what everybody, you want to have the recreation for the residents, but at the same time, you want it to be a safe environment.
Should we get quotes for these areas? Let's see how much.
Well, I think the tennis court, wouldn't you say, is in the same shape as the basketball court?
I mean, I don't know.
I've walked it.
I know it, yeah.
It seems
I've
exactly the
looked at
same.
it.
It's got the same cracks, it's got the
I
same
believe
pops
so.
that Rob's talking about in places where it looks like something
It's
just came
popped.
through.
You
It popped.
step sideways and you're gonna twist your ankle or probably break it.
I think it's just in
It's
the
not.
same shape, it's just gonna cost us more than the basketball court to fix.
Yeah,
I don't think it's,
It's older than the basketball court.
Oh, boy.
is it really? It
Yeah.
was before the basketball
Yes,
court?
because people played tennis more frequently when I was little.
Have you guys, Robbie, are we right? Is it in worse shape? You and Al, do you think it's in worse shape, or is it worth getting a quote for?
Doesn't hurt to get a quote.
All right.
I thought they redid those tennis courts.
I think they might have redone them.
Because
That
I
was
wanna say when
several years
I want to
ago.
say when
But
I was a
It was
kid,
years
they had,
ago. It was years ago.
well, that was only a few years ago when I was younger.
Didn't we only have one when we were growing up, though? I thought we only had one.
No, there were always two.
There's two.
There's two?
Yeah.
Oh, and then the lower, where the cages are now,
Right.
that was it,
Yeah.
okay.
Those two up top.
Yeah. But they were like brand new, and I can't think of his name, the guy that was running the program. He would give lessons to us and stuff. you know.
Maslowski?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll have you get a quote, and we'll go from there on those. See where we're at.
But if they believe that it's a safety issue right now, then maybe those should be locked shut.
Yeah.
So, you
Yeah.
know, if that's what we
I
need to
think
do.
we're all in agreement we should lock
Mhm.
tennis
Yes.
courts. Okay.
But I think there is a sign at the park also that says, use at your own risk or play at your own risk anyway.
Yes.
I think you should change that, just to say closed or something, not play at your own risk.
Yes. Well, that's for the entire park, though.
But, people love to
Yeah.
sue.
Right.
Sovereign immunity?
But we were locking the tennis courts, so they won't be able to get into them. So I'm talking about just the general sign that's on the building for the entire playground.
No, I hear you there, I get it, but whatever area, I wasn't aware that there was a problem until tonight, so I'm not sure what the specific area is, but if you're aware, you should mark that area closed or keep it locked, absolutely.
Those are, for me, I don't want to finish your meeting, go ahead. I think those were two we needed to address. Natalie, did you want to give your report, Gloria give the report, and maybe talk about some of the other things up there that you have concerns about, or? Yeah. Get the mic a little closer to you, that will help too.
I'll have a couple comments about
Do
it.
you want to?
I can go now.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Mayor and Colgraf and council and all. Yeah, a couple things came up, and I waited till we got the main issue settled that came up in discussion earlier. One was the potential garden, and up there in that area, whether it's on the basketball court or somewhere else, a community garden goes a long way toward building community. It's just a good thing to do. I like that idea, and it was actually, I had a resident, the mayor talked to you last year, wanted to offer a portion of their backyard last year for that project. But I think that's a good thing to do. And then the other item that Councilwoman Chalowski mentioned was the dog park. And, that I have been asked by several residents about a dog park. The fact that, why do I have to, well, not why do I have, but I put my dog in a car and drive to another community for dog recreation. And I'm just going to throw this out on the table and move on, not to really dig into this tonight. But the old service garage area and all of that property up there, could we give some consideration for, a section up there on that property that we already own that's separate from T.G. Young Park for a potential dog
Are you
park?
talking about
The old-
6800 Dunham?
No,
Oh,
up here in Quick Road. So, and that property up there. I don't know if it's feasible, but, it's land. It's available land. We own it, and it's separate from the park. A separate entrance. So we know T.J. Young dogs are not permitted. It's a whole separate section, a separate area. Just want to put that out for consideration.
yeah, the only downside, if I may, with that location, who's keeping an eye on it? We have cameras at T.G. Young. I'm not saying take dogs to T.G. Young. I'd never say that. But we do have cameras there. Who's keeping an eye on it? We do have police equipment and some of our equipment stored in that building. And then from a safety standpoint, you're bringing residential people with their puppy into an industrial area. I would be cautious. I mean, unless we were going to lay that out to be more conducive, to have your normal person put their poodle in the car, I don't know if that's a good idea. I understand, because we got the land and it could be used, but I wouldn't take them through that industrial area, and there's no eyes on it. We don't have any cameras or anything up there. So from a safety standpoint, I would have concern. That's all. That's my 2 cents. Sorry.
Yeah, not for us to dig into it. We just want to put the idea out there on the table.
Yeah.
No, we've researched dog park. Mr. Stitzman can tell you a lot about it. There was a lot of momentum for a dog park. Probably 15 years ago, well, maybe not even that long, probably 8 years ago, about 8, right?
Yeah.
Danny? Dog parks were one of the hottest items in communities. That has changed. But, I mean, I'm a dog lover, so I'm for them, but the thing about them is you gotta police them. You have to police them, you have to have rules. You gotta police them. most of the time you have an attendant
Yeah, I would
there,
not ever take my dog to a dog park.
you know. Communities, Lakewood had probably one of the biggest ones in the
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
went through some, I don't even know if theirs is still open. You know,
I don't know.
it definitely takes some research see, the thing, we talked about it at T.G. Young Park, and, it was kind of tough, like where we were gonna place it, because then you gotta make sure, okay, so I'm walking my dog in an area that doesn't allow dogs, now I'm drifting over here, you know, you kinda, like, more like you said, a separate area is a lot better, but then it's another, our community, yeah, I mean, we have a lot of dogs. We got a lot of animal lovers, I think everybody in this room loves animals, and, you know, but I'm not up on them like, we were up on it for, you know, I think did a lot of research. We visited a few dog
Mm-hmm.
parks. Myself, Brian, and Councilman Les Sheeler.
Yeah, you thought you weren't coming back either.
Yeah.
Did you take his leash off? Is that why?
Yeah, we did, yeah. And liability, there is liability too, because, you know, people, you know, they take their dog to the park, and the first thing that happens is they take their dog off leash to let it run. And now that dog is mixing in with other dogs, and you really don't know. I would never, when we had dogs, we would never take our dog to, or our dogs to a dog park that was specifically a park. Now, for dogs for that purpose, and everybody had their dogs confined in this one spot, because you never know. And that's just me, that's and my family, and other people, you've been hit up to have one, so everybody's different. But there are those issues and with the dogs and biting and things, nipping at people and things like that. Not every dog is friendly with strangers, even though they think they are, you know. So those are the issues we came up with when we looked at that, and it'd be interesting to call like Lakewood now and see what their history of it is, and see what the good, bad, and ugly of their history has been. That would be the first place I would start.
Right.
Well, they were just suggestions off the top of my head while I was up there and
Mhm.
talking with the
Oh, sure,
young
yeah.
couple, and looking around there, and it's a beautiful spot. Right now, the grass is growing all over, and it will be cleaned up, and it looks, I mean, it's immaculate, you know, in the summer, and it's so pretty, and serene, that we don't need to worry about a safety issue, that the stuff is in disrepair. It shouldn't be that way, you know. Put a lock on it, put closed until we can do something with it, you know. We can clean it, right now, just clean it up and see what the future, our finances are, and what we can do. And Natalie will get us some more money. Put a new decimal on there.
I think, though, we did receive that grant for the special needs project. I think, and if they find a suitable location and it needs an expenditure for a walkway, because it is for somebody that is wheelchair accessible, and that's the whole thing, and we have nothing up there for them. Okay, I think, and it's something to bring back to the Recreation Committee and maybe the council to think about if it's a small expenditure to go ahead and do it. That I think is important. You know, we got a park, we're talking about, you know, having something for everybody, and right now up there we don't have, we do have, is that green swing considered a ADA swing? I thought at one time when we purchased that one, I'm not sure. But but it probably isn't because you can't put the green one, it's more like a,
Bench type thing.
yeah, the one in the middle there.
Swing.
Oh, yeah, that is.
Is that considered an ADA one? But I just wanted to bring it up because I know Rob and Natalie are struggling. They got money to, you know, the 5,000 is enough to maybe purchase that activity plaques, but it's not enough to a walkway or something. So I think when a place is decided, maybe that is something, an expenditure to think about. We definitely should take advantage of that grant. We know we do have some special needs, young adults in the village, that it might encourage them to use an outdoor activity too. I'm just throwing it out there, but I know they're kind of struggling with, well, we got $5,000, we can get this, and we're trying to squeeze something in the, you know, as far as there might be some paving or concrete involved, walkway to get to it, so.
Can I ask a question, Mayor,
Yes.
about this walkway? You mentioned before about having the shortest walkway to an area. In what areas? Yeah, just my 2 cents. You can't take a special needs child and put them and separate them.
And we don't want to do that. That was
No.
some of the talking.
Exactly. You have to have that in the same general area with the rest of the equipment.
Right.
Exactly. Okay, that's
That's where the walkway comes in.
okay. So yeah, that's what I wanted to be clear. You weren't thinking about putting it anywhere else in the park.
No.
It was going with the with the regular
Same general
equipment.
location as the rest of the
Okay.
equipment.
Okay.
So the panels, those will go by track.
Right.
So I'm looking for the quickest way.
Okay.
So it would cost them.
Right.
Yeah, I just wanted to be clear about that.
No,
I understand.
yeah, very sensitive to that, you know, because you know, we all should be able to be there together.
Oh, yeah, and
You know,
that's the
so
whole
that's-
thing about it, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, which is great, Brian, because that discussion did come up. You know, we wanted to make sure that it wasn't a good area
Mm-hmm,
where, you know, and anybody else could use it too.
sure.
Yeah, we want to be welcoming in that, all that.
How much time is on that grant before it has to be used? Is it, no,
No, the grant.
the grant dollars, when do they have to be used?
I didn't get an answer from them.
Yeah, you received it, you got the grant.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a 2-year grant, but we'll have to look at it, right? But it'll be something we'd like to do this year,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because it's not a big expenditure for adding some, you know, the walkway.
That would be in-house, no?
Well,
How much?
they can't do everything in-house, Gloria, they got, you know,
Rob can, Rob
but-
can.
We'll figure it out.
but you still have to pay for it. Any other, you want to share anything else, Natalie, about the park?
Sure.
To do your report?
Yeah, we're installing a new piece of equipment we bought last year. Where Carol and Carlene had raised some money for a piece of equipment. Bought it last year, but we didn't get it installed, so we're gonna get that in, hopefully before Parker program.
Might be possible.
And then, we're gonna bring the counselors in next week. They're gonna do some weeding, they're gonna clean up the pavilion, the restrooms. We're gonna, there's a piece of equipment that needs sanding and painting, on the playground. We're gonna get them pulling weeds and planting some flowers. So that's next week. A lot of our counselors aren't out of school yet, so we haven't been able to bring them in.
Most of our counselors are high school
High
students,
school.
correct? Yeah.
Mayor, have we had any outside entities rent the baseball fields from us this year?
Yes, if you want to answer that now.
We did late last summer. We had two guys. One was a resident, one was a non-resident. And we are renting this year to an adult team, and there's a resident involved. So they're gonna be renting every Thursday through August, mid-August.
Is there any thought to opening the concession stand this year to those people?
Well, I was going to, but we need to get a Board of Health license
Okay.
to be able to sell prepackaged goods. And then you need staffing. They didn't make enough money, I guess, in 2019 to be able to justify and all that. So, yeah, probably not gonna open up.
Okay.
And it probably might even be less people, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But the thing is the licensing from the board members. Because what changed there? There was some kind of requirement that
Yeah,
changed?
they changed the prepackaged goods, you need a license now,
Hmm.
so.
We didn't need that before.
Oh,
So we were able to sell ice cream, and candy, and,
Jeez.
yeah. That's what changed, unfortunately.
certainly is.
But we'll keep an eye on that, because who knows if it will change the other way, which it can too. Let's see. I did want to mention, and I know some of us, we talked a little bit about it yesterday. Myself, Rob, and Natalie are going to probably meet with Sharon Orland and anybody else from the Women's Club. The Women's Club wants to donate a flagpole to the village, and they want to put it up at the event center. Since there's no flagpole there, Rob did some research, got a high enough flagpole. We got a estimated price, and we're going to meet with them to see what their expenditure is, and an area needs to be picked out, and just kind of talk to Sharon and see, share what we have and stuff. So we're hoping to have that happen here soon. And then if that were to happen, be nice to maybe do something, I just threw out to her a while back, maybe on Veterans Day or something like that. Just depending if we had to install, a little dedication or something.
Mhm.
It just depends. So we're gonna meet with Sharon. We have to set a date yet, and whoever else she, brings with her. So it's a great thing. They really would like to do that with a plaque and have it at the event center,
Mhm.
where there's I did want to talk a little bit about the event center too. We did, we're reviewing the contract for the event center, and we also, right now, the event center is booked until October, okay? And we pulled back and said only residents can rent it past that. We're only taking reservations from residents past October, okay? If you're a non-resident, we're not taking it, just because our existing contract it's not so much the contract that needs to be revamped, it's the fees, okay? Not for residents, okay? Just want, not for residents, but for non-residents. Because just to tell you what's happening, our security deposit for non-residents and residents is very, very low. And if there is damage, it's not even enough to cover it, and the person just walks away. If something spilled on the carpet, it's $150 deposit. Okay? So if you get the carpet cleaned, it's costs more than that. The other thing is with COVID, and depending on how we go forward, we're cleaning between every event. Okay? So what is it for a non-resident? $850 to rent the large room and $250 for the small room. Is that correct? I don't. 300 is the rental. Right. And then we clean in between, and that cost wasn't considered before, so there's really, sometimes we're lucky, we're even breaking even. And, I just, so we kind of we just kind of put the brakes on it. It is rented till October, and it's booking up with our residents. So we're just trying to get a comparison. I did ask somebody that is familiar with the business, that is a resident in the village, to also look at the contract with us. We're just getting some ideas, see where we are competitively. I don't think, and this is all going to be presented to you, I don't think we should change anything to the residents, because the resident is, just like we talked about, that's a service to our residents. I feel we purchased the event center to offer another service, another amenity, and renting it to the outside was to help offset some of the expenses. I don't think it was ever the intention to make money. We're not a community in that type of business, but we thought it would offset some of the expenses. So that's where we're at. We're really looking at, there's just things that need to be looked at there, security-wise, the amount of people required for just different events. It just, and what else is happening is sometimes residents want to rent it, and it's rented out that date to a non-resident. So we're kind of missing a little bit there. But we're thinking, okay, maybe having a window there, no different than you talked about with the park, that, okay, book your party, residents got first dibs, book your party. Same thing with the Parker program. We didn't refuse any residents this year, but because our program is so popular, it gets filled up with non-residents. So Natalie and Maya said what we're going to do next year is have a window there for our residents, and let them know that, hey, this is your window. After this window, we're going to open up to non-residents. So, but they didn't refuse any residents. So just, but when it comes to the thing, we just need to really review that contract and the deposit and stuff. We just have gone through some growing pains. As somebody who, as a resident, who has used it twice for 2 weddings. The first wedding, when I met with the former person that was running, I really got a good feel for it, and I think a lot of us in this room have gotten a good feel for the event center. We've kind of learned, it takes a few years to get a feel for it, and I think we see what needs to be tweaked. Me and Rob have met with some residents in that area. I know you guys approved the buffer. We approved the buffer for the house there. That's another thing that they're going to do in-house that's on their plate. So they're going to do that and take a look at that. So that's a good thing, but there is some other issues too. I know a sign was installed today. We got that suggestion from some residents and from everybody here. And I think I know some people, this is just my opinion, there's some people feel maybe we should sell it. I feel different. I don't think we'd ever get a place like that. I think for the residents that live close to it, I think if I was there, I'd rather have the village own it. At least it's going to be maintained. But I think we do have to we can run it a little better. You know what I mean? Just through our leasing contract, through our contract, and our fees. And that's what we're doing. We're just kind of pulled back a little bit. And it's been better. We're trying to fix the things. And I know with Jennifer living close, you felt some of the growing pains there. We hear it from residents. And we hear a lot of good things. A lot of people, a lot of our residents who have rented it really enjoy it and know that it's a great facility. But I just kind of wanted to fill everybody in where if you, and I know I've kind of been filling everybody in with that, but if you hear that, I mean, so. And we're probably having it booked with just our residents. I think, and I'm going to present it, just my opinion, after, I know there's been some, Angela's working on some records requests, which you guys have seen the emails related to that, and she's working on that to any of the residents. That thing, I know she's been in communication with them. But that's actually been helping us too, because we were planning on putting something like that together to get a feel for it too, how many non-residents, residents, what it's being used for. I mean, people got to understand, and some of us know here and some of us don't, we use it for our police training this year. I think we've used it, what, Natalie, 3 times?
Yeah, I think so.
And usually on the average, that police training cost us anywhere from, I think, $12,000 to $15,000 a year. But when we host that training, which we had at the event center, there's no cost us because we're hosting it. Okay, so that's been a savings to the village. But there's been some growing pains there. We've had quite a few cars that day, quite a few policemen, and so there's things that we got to work on even in-house. So I don't want to think, oh, it's just people renting it. Even in-house, when we've had a couple hundred people there for training, 150 people there, there's been some things that we could do better too. So
I did feel very safe during those days.
oh, I'm sure you have. So there's just been a lot to it. There's been a lot going on. Of course, our seniors enjoy it. They want it. I'm sure Gloria, you know, being in contact and stuff, that they want to get back in there. Ray, you go to those. They want to get back in there. They want to use that facility. I know Natalie's got some ideas about, you mentioned having breakfast in the morning, always open for the seniors, someplace for them to come. A lot of our seniors, like Natalie was sharing with me, they'll go to this coffee place, go to this coffee place. Why aren't they coming to our event center? I know we talked about that a little bit. Why aren't they just coming to our event center in the morning, having some coffee there right in their backyard? You know, but I just kind of wanted to fill you in. And Rob can tell you, there's things that change. And the COVID's changed some of that. We're going to submit that for that cleaning through the CARES Act. We'll get some of that refunded. That's justifiable. But the other thought is, moving forward, we probably should do something similar to that anyways. You know, at least how I feel, all of a sudden we're back to normal. Should we still not clean things like we should? Should we still not have this sanitary? Of course we should still have it. We shouldn't really just give up all these practices, you know, good hygiene, that thing. So that's kind of where we're at with the event center. To be honest with you, most of the things have been very positive, but the fee structures just, you know, it's.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Actually, I was going to ask if next week we could start discussing, looking at our fees and our costs for next year, all around, across the whole board. Permit fees, the Parker fees, anything and everything. I think we really need to make sure that we are in line with other communities. And we really need to start doing some more for our roads. You know, and if this is one way, if our building department can come up with X number of dollars that they've brought in on citations or things like that, then that money should be going towards our building department. I'd like to see if we could try to get each of our departments a little more self-sustaining and put their money that they're earning back into their departments too. So just that's something I'd like to start discussing possibly next week then, if we could put on the agenda.
Okay, you want it to go into the COW meeting? You're not going to have it go to a separate committee, or do you want some of it to be
Well,
part
it
of
would really be under finance, and that's everybody.
Okay,
So unless if everybody was comfortable with starting at 6 instead next week, to give us time to discuss that specifically, that would be dependent on everybody else though and their schedules. You know, I would be happy to do that then, you know, we could do it ahead of the meeting, but
no, because here's the thing, we're gonna have a COW meeting, we'll have plenty of time for that. The only thing we really have next week for the COW meeting is the piece of legislation for the budget, and that's pretty much standard. We've already talked through the resolution for the expenditure, so we're pretty good. So
okay.
to talk about, okay, let me, because we can, I want to touch base with that a little bit under other business. Anything else from recreation, Natalie, that you wanted to share or anything tonight, or you want to give us a little update maybe about the Parker program? How many kids, or is it moving along pretty good? We're getting ready for it. I know you mentioned you got the counselors coming in.
Yeah, I think there's about 60 kids coming.
Yeah, so that's quite a few.
I know
more.
Maya's excited about starting. I did want to ask, did you ever consider, like, maybe having like a recreation facility where you can come work out? I know you have 2 rooms in the event center, but maybe like the multi-purpose room could be like a workout area where you put machines in and you do a membership, like a civic center.
Right.
I don't know if anybody's ever talked about that.
We had discussed that originally when we were remodeling the facility. It just didn't
Yeah.
shake out that way.
Yeah, and you know,
I think there was more of an interest at the time, because that's just a little bit larger than this room. I mean, it used to be this was the only room we had as a community room. And I think there was so much interest in that at the time, in that multi-purpose room for renting it and get-togethers and everything else. I think that, and there was nothing formal. I think that's what scratched the idea, though. Not that it's a bad idea. I think that's why it originally got scratched.
we even talked about basketball courts. A basketball
There
court
was talk about a basketball court. That's always an
Yeah.
Windows in there, but
Yeah. The workout room is a great idea. It would definitely probably be utilized in our community. You know, most
The flooring is
communities,
fine.
people, what's that?
The flooring you have in there is fine. You just add equipment.
But then you eliminate one more meeting room.
But yeah, but we always have complaints about too much parking going in both, both rooms rented out. You just rent one out, one out is fine.
But the only thing is, then you only have one option of renting one big room.
Right.
So what do? You rent the
But you
one?
have the community room here
Yeah.
too.
You know what? And this is just, we're just talking, so it's all great, but people don't want to rent that community room across the hall anymore. Not once they've been to the
Right?
small room at
It's the
the
same
event
price.
center.
Right.
It's just, it's,
It's the same
I
price.
don't, it's just,
Nicer.
it's nicer. It's
Say it what
it's
it
got the
is.
windows, it's more cheerful. I mean, this room's been great for us, but I just, it's, people want that,
And this is a workout.
you know,
There you go.
yeah.
That's an idea.
Well, that's something,
That's
that's
an idea.
discussion, that's good discussion, that's nothing wrong with that, that's, something to talk about.
Yeah, put it
You know.
at the park. Put a building up there and
Oh,
make a workout.
we,
Charge membership.
yeah, we went through that.
We actually had a committee on that.
We had, yeah, it
We hired
just-
an architect on that.
Yes, yeah, and it's just not feasible. The cost of that building, even a small building, like for what we paid for that, plus we sold that house for $150,000, we could not build a building, and for the down payment on that building wouldn't be what we paid for that entire,
Were we a few $1 million?
at least, yeah.
When
That was the cheapest, was 2
2004
million.
we did that?
Yeah, the cheapest was $2 million for a
Yeah.
building.
That's when it was suggested, and they gave a discount, Macedonia was giving a discount to Walton Hills
Yes.
residents. Because Macedonia was hurting and couldn't maintain theirs.
Yeah.
But with that said, we could explore that again. I know the mayor, and I just can tell you one mayor has expressed that they might be interested in something like that. I don't want to say because if he didn't talk to his residents or whatever, he might not be too happy. But that's been a few weeks ago, so I had to see that he was talking about that. I mentioned that just in conversation. But those are questions that are going to come up. I think we need to have some serious discussion about have it go through the recreation committee first about the event center and stuff. How to proceed, but I know we're gathering information and it got popular, and it's a good thing, but one reason why it got popular because it's one of the cheapest places to rent around. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's benefiting the village as far as finances. We want it to benefit the residents and offset some costs. And if council feels different, that, we should do. I think the thing that I like about owning it, you sell it and you lose control over it. You lose control over that building. Okay, and if somebody else was running an event center, they're gonna run it as an event center. And I think we can utilize it even more for our residents. I think there's a lot more we can probably do, And maybe it is reconfiguring some of it, or changing the room where it could be converted from something, or using half of it for a meeting room and a half for a workout. I don't know. I don't know. I can tell you this, though, I think the residents that have used it, including myself, and a lot of residents, once they use it, they like it. It's a very nice facility. Any other, Natalie, anything else, Rob, to share with recreation or the park, or what needs to be done up there?
No, I don't have anything, Mayor.
Does anybody else? Well, if you guys, I know, Rob, you've been here since 5, Natalie, you can stay, you're more than welcome to stay.
Here since 7, 8.
You have some questions?
Five.
What's that?
A new topic?
A new topic.
Yeah.
Okay.
It says, with the news that Amazon acquires MGM Studios, does this also affect the MGM?
The MGM what? I didn't get the last word.
You mean, is the question, so the question must be, they must be asking whether it affects the MGM casino in Northfield?
It was sold, yeah.
Yeah.
MGM was bought.
I can't answer.
Amazon, what is it?
'Cause the
$8.5 billion.
MGM's not in the village of Walton Hills. So we'll,
Doesn't affect us.
did they have any rebuttal to that? I mean, as far as if that question is related to the Ford plant, as everybody probably knows here, the Brook Park plant did close. What you read is the same thing that I can share, and they're still going through their due diligence to try to purchase the plant in Walton Hills. So that's what the paper reported is, what's been in Cranes or Cleveland.com, but I have the same thing to report too. Any other questions on that? Okay. All right, let's see. Other business, I just wrote down here, if anybody had it, if you wanted to share anything from the infrastructure committee, but I think you pretty much shared anything to share. Denny, Brian, anything to share from the infrastructure committee? I just had that other business. I don't know if you want to, whatever.
Mayor Colgraf, I'll just give a brief recap. We had a good meeting on infrastructure. We talked about, first of all, we talked about the codified ordinances around alternative energy use, both the solar panels and a little bit on the wind turbines. Mr. Schmerigan is going to recreate a new draft for us to take a look at that would combine both of those items into one section. We currently have, I think it's Chapter 1276 covers the wind turbines, and instead of coming up with a brand new chapter for the solar panels, he's going to take a look at crafting something to put the two of them together all under one chapter. We also talk about road program and the commitments that the village will have coming forward, especially with the projects tied to Cleveland Water Department water main replacements. And we're looking at roughly around, with the deadline for some of those for 2022, about $600,000 that would be needed to be added into the budget in order to capitalize on those Cleveland Water Department's water main replacement grants. And by 2022, some of those funds must be used by the fall of 2022. And we of course we talk about residential roads that we do not receive funding for, and how can we find a way in the midst of our finances as they are to begin to place some repairs in those areas. It's like we talked in this meeting about our residents needing some recreation. We are a walking community, and a walking community without sidewalks. So therefore, our roads become our walking spaces. And just like with the basketball courts being unsafe to play basketball, and some of our residential roads are very unsafe just for walking. So those are some of the items that we discussed in the infrastructure committee that we hope that our larger general body will be able to have some further discussion down the road.
Okay, very good. Go ahead,
Mr. Mayor, I don't know if Councilwoman Allen would like to comment. We did, along with all that, talk about pavement markings and the need for the pavement markings at an approximate cost of $50,000. It was unless I'm mistaken, the committee's recommendation to move that forward to the general council to do that project and fund that project. So I don't know if Councilwoman Allen would like to speak further on that, but that we had discussed that in the meeting.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Pavement markings, the stripings on our roads haven't been done since 2014. Usually every 3 years it's done and then retouched up. It's done completely and then retouched up in the other first and second year. And so I think that that's something else that we need to discuss also. It's just a safety issue. The entire village needs to be restriped. We need cat eyes if we decide to go along with that. Rob, if you would just let us know what additional cost that would be too. But this is something that's just a safety issue. I've noticed it. I only live 3 miles from my parents, and if I could probably do that drive with my eyes closed, since there's been some days I've done it 6 times. But yeah, I mean, just Walton Road even. Alexander. You know, the glass beads are more than worn off on those stripes, which is what really gives it its reflective quality and stuff, which is why it's suggested that it's completely redone every 3 years. So I think that is something that we need to look at. We are currently showing a surplus, and again, that's why I said, instead of $30,000 for a basketball court, we really need a minimum of 50 for our roads and our safety of all of our residents and people passing through.
Agree 100%. I think that's why we're gonna remove the basketball courts.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so let's just kind of recap. Okay, so we get it right for next COW meeting. So next COW meeting, we'll have Resolution 2021-13. Okay, the tax budget, that will be on there. We'll have legislation or a resolution for the Dunham Road reconstruction, asphalt extension, so that will be on there. Do we want to continue with community life? Have that on there? Because I guess you're going to get a couple quotes. Whether we get the quotes within a week or not, that's fine. If we don't, we don't. But I'll have recreation on there. I think we should continue to, anything that comes forward, talk. Are you okay with that, everybody? Gloria? And then we'll have, I know you mentioned you wanted to talk about finances. We can do that last, because that will probably be the longest. So we'll have something with, what do we want to have discussion on? I think probably right here, I think that you don't really need too much discussing. We're probably all in favor of the striping. It's just more of, do we have we just need a quote and some legislation for it? Would you like to see a piece of legislation for it? And then I think that's, you know, then they can put it out for not quote, put it out for bid or whatever we have to do with that. So, all right, well, we need to have legislation, because we would, well, they usually do it in fall, correct?
You do it all
Done
year,
in fall, so,
Mr. Mayor. They stripe all year.
no, I know that, but I mean, usually we have it done in
Oh, by the fall.
the fall. So even if we think, so we'll get that rolling, we'll talk to Joe and stuff, okay? So we'll have that on there. And then COW, the finance, you want to discuss, I'll just put finance discussion, how's that?
Yeah, just like I said,
Overall
what I would like to do
finance
is,
discussion.
if, Rob, I don't know when you're going to be going, but if you would be able to pull comparable communities with their permit fees, fines, things like that, that you would normally deal with.
Are you serious?
Well, I want to be sure that we're in line.
No, I mean, are you saying before I go on vacation?
No, I'm
Oh.
saying, when can you?
Oh,
get
when
some-
can I?
Yeah.
Oh, I can get it to you by, are you guys having a COW meeting next month?
A week from today.
No, yeah, we're probably closed.
Oh, but that's what I meant.
I want to start the discussions on this, so I just want to know if in the meantime, I know you're going away, can you put something together with that information? I'm not worried about it being by the 1st of July or anything
Oh,
like that. Because
absolutely.
we're probably going to be on vacation.
Absolutely.
Okay, because we're probably going to be
Absolutely.
on vacation for July and August. So it's really not something, and I want to just, Natalie, you too, comparable programs that you're running and other communities with their fees and stuff too. But,
Well, we'll put it
so
on
it'll
there.
give
If
you,
guys
it'll
get
give
it
you guys
together,
some time, but it'll
get it
give us
together.
a beginning of talking about it for 2022 possible changes.
We'll put it on there, and whatever you have, you know.
I know,
Get
Rob,
as
I
much
wanted it
as-
tomorrow.
And Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I brought this up at our infrastructure meeting. If we could have our finance lady look into some options for us for a new truck, a dump truck, a big truck. I had the opportunity of getting an up-close look at that truck.
He had to
And-
get a tetanus shot.
Yeah, it's in deplorable condition, it really is. It left about a half a quart of oil on my driveway while I was sitting there too. But,
Free
no,
service.
really, it, in all seriousness, if that truck, that is our, the big truck that everybody sees driving down, snow plowing, hearing it, seeing it in the middle of winter, if that truck goes down, we're gonna be in deep trouble. And it really, we really need to get serious, and I know we're talking about $20,000 for a basketball court. That's nothing compared to the cost of this truck. So we really need to get serious and figure out how we're gonna pay for that, because it's gonna happen. That truck is wore out. I mean, you can just see it, and it's gonna break, January 15th or something in the middle of a snowstorm.
So you have a quote for the truck already, Rob? Didn't you get a quote last year? Didn't you get a quote for it?
Yeah, I think I get a quote every year.
Do you have a
I don't know
recent
what
one,
I
or
am.
you gotta get a new one?
Like 170? 170 is where we're at?
Okay, so you want to put that on there for an expenditure?
I would like
for that,
to,
or-
no, I would like to
I can
have,
get the actual quote.
I would like to start the discussion and have Angela, do a little bit of research and find out fiscally what our options are as far as financing the thing, not plunking
Okay.
down 170,000. I know we don't want to lease it because the leasing options are terrible. So as far as any rates we can get and what a payment would be, something like that we can look over next week when we're discussing finances. At least get the ball rolling, not that we're going to make a decision next week, but
Right,
at least
right.
get the ball rolling on
Okay.
it. So we
You
can.
want to see what our options are
Yeah,
as far as
exactly.
financing it?
Exactly.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor? Oh.
Are you yield to the young lady?
I was contacted by a resident who said that they had not had their recycling picked up 2 weeks in a row. And my thought is, when I don't have mine picked up, I just call Kimball. And I don't know if the residents think somehow we have influence in this, but my thought was maybe putting in every month in a little blurb in the journal, if your trash isn't picked up or your recycling, here's the number to call. I call the Twinsburg one, and I usually get someone, I get someone on Saturday or something, and they'll come out, and they'll come get it, I mean, I know myself, we were gone, and when I came back, our neighbors were kind enough to take our trash back, and they had not picked up my recycling, it was still in there. So,
Well, we can comment on that. Probably everybody received things here. And you're right, some residents ought to make a call, but for what happened last weekend, they missed, and we made several calls to Kimball, and so there has been a problem there.
okay,
And we're working through that, okay?
good to know.
So they did call, but you know what, and I agree with you if they get missed, but at the same time, what happened there was, I don't know if it is the same one, but with some residents, I don't want them to think. They did make those calls and didn't get a response. They were told they were gonna be picked up the next day came, they weren't picked up, they made another call. We were involved in it as much and got the same response. So we're working through that.
Well, my apologies
I
then.
myself have talked to quite a few of those residents along with Rob and the administration, Lisa answering the phone, Mary, whoever, have received those calls, so you're aware, so.
Thank you for letting me know, because in the past, I have had success when I've called. And even when I made sure we had a mattress taken out, I found out you had to put a mattress bag around it or they won't take it, and you have to let them know, et cetera. So I had no idea, and then I was gone, and myself, so mine was never picked up either, so I'm sorry we're having difficulties.
We've had,
There's actually been quite a few communities that are having,
it's not just us.
No.
And it's not just that particular company. And
my understanding was with some of it, with Kimball in particular, that they suddenly became very short-staffed.
that's what we're being told, but from our perspective, we have a contract, we have an agreement, and we expect them to uphold that.
Paying for
And-
service.
But you are right, that's what we're being told, but we can't accept that.
Right.
You know, our residents are paying for that, we have an agreement, we expect them to fulfill that agreement. If they're not gonna fulfill that agreement, then give us our, give us our money back, or readjust the contract, or do something, it's our responsibility. So, but that is what a lot of, not just that company, a lot of companies are experiencing.
Since we're talking about this, actually 2 weeks ago on Friday when the trash was supposed to be picked up, and I don't know if I could just ask Lisa to handle this, or if Rob, you would handle this with Kimball. Is there a way to get them not to collect on Alexander at 4 o'clock and 4:30? They had traffic so backed up because they were collecting on Alexander, eventually they stopped. You know, and cars are dangerous on Alexander. They'll go around and they don't, the car that's behind Kimball is the one that's supposed to wait, and they don't wait for enough clearance. And the oncoming traffic is steadfast that they want to stay in their lane. You know, it really is dangerous for them to be collecting on Alexander, especially during rush hour.
Well, I don't know what their particular routing is, but there's some times when we sit at our house, and our house goes North Meadow Park, this way and this way. Sometimes they pass our house 5 times, the truck. Not picking up our stuff, they just pass our house 4 or 5 times during the day. It's like, what kind of route could they be doing that same truck is just going past our house multiple times? It's weird.
Must be following our plow routes.
But yeah, it seems very inefficient, whatever they're doing. And that's just on the surface. It could be very explainable and very efficient. I don't know, but it seems
Do
just
they
on
go
the
the same
surface.
direction each time, Glenn? They go the same direction?
Not every time,
Oh,
but there's a couple times when they're going the same direction.
I'm curious.
Yeah,
There's been no rhyme to no reason to anything this year. It's been very, we've had some where they'll hit 3 houses, skip 4, hit 3, or this house is caught. Our development was like that. Some houses were hit, some weren't, and they were right, like, missed 2 houses, got 1. It's been very.
And then we'll come back on Saturday. Why? You hit the first 3, you hit the last 8, you missed everybody in between.
It's been like.
Why are you coming back on Saturday?
It's been really just, yeah,
It's called padding your time.
yeah, that's what, exactly.
Ray, I know you've been waiting
Yeah.
patiently.
Well, I had 2 comments now. One is related to Kimball, well, 3 comments. As far as the routing, I talked to the driver one day, because the rubbish anyway is very predictable. They're on time all the time, and the drivers, they do have a computer-driven program that they're route that they're supposed to follow. So what happens, I don't know, but they do have a route program that they just follow these dots, is what they're supposed to do. But the other point to that is, as we're talking about legislation, I don't know, I know the consortium, if you guys have met and decided to accept the last year of the last year option, which this current option ends on July 31st.
Right.
So I don't know if the consortium have decided that they want to exercise this one last year. or not. Last year, we did have a piece of resolution to acknowledge that. And if we are going to indeed going to be on break in July and August, that would be another piece that we would need for June, if that's what you all are decided to do. Otherwise, it is kind of tight window to go out for bids. I don't know if the
It's not
consortium
going
has
out for
met.
bid, it's not going out for
Okay.
bid. I thought we exercised the 2-year option.
We exercised one.
Was it?
Yep, we exercised one.
Pretty confident we're gonna do 2.
Oh, well, there's only one left. There's only one left. 1 year
Well,
left.
right, so that
Okay.
last year and then this year.
Right. Okay.
You're right if that's the case, yeah.
Yeah, so we have 60 days before this current option runs out. The other item, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Colograph, we did not talk about in infrastructure, but we talked about it a bit in this meeting, is the 2021 County Road Preventative Maintenance Reimbursement Program. And I believe last year that work, I don't know if we bid it in September and got the work done late in the year, but you know, that's another item. I don't know if that's something that we need to bring up before we go on break, if we're indeed going to get this out for bid. Our reimbursements have to be made prior to March 26, 2022, which means, of course, you know, this county funding has to be used, you know, pretty soon. So I don't know if that's something we want to, a piece of legislation, well, if we want, I don't know if it's out for bid, if our engineer has put it out for bid yet, or where we are with that.
That was the item that I was talking about for doing the rest of Dunham Road. Yes. As a separate item?
Yeah.
Yes, but yes, I think that's something we need to look at, because that's what I said too. It's going to expire. We have to have those reimbursements requests in, which means the work needs to be done, correct?
Right.
Prior to March of '22.
Right. So the status of, is this ready for bid, is the question. I don't know. It'll be good to know before we go on break where we are in the bidding process with this.
Yeah, I'll follow up with Joe and Rob on that. We'll take a look. I'll be able to let you know on the COW meeting next week before that. So legislation for parking. Okay, anything else under other business?
Just a quick question. Tomorrow is the fire extinguisher thing for the employees?
Training, correct.
Training? Does that include council? Or
Yes.
Okay. 10 o'clock, is that what it is?
Yes.
10 o'clock, thank you.
Yep. We are going to, there will be another, we're setting up a training with Sonia from HR Partners, another compliance. It's not really compliance, but it's a training related to the workplace, and that's going to be for everybody too. So she's going to be putting that together. Hopefully, have a couple dates there coming soon with that. Let's see here. I have, anybody else? I'm good with everything. Anybody else have anything for other business, or? I think we had a great meeting. Talked about a lot of things. I probably will, council meeting, we might have an executive session there to share some litigation and also share. Yeah. So those would be two. Originally, we need to have a special meeting. We'll talk about that in the council meeting, just to kind of give you an idea. So you know that. Want to get everybody updated where we're at. So, well, can I have a motion for adjournment?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for adjournment.
Is there a second?
Second.
Vote on the motion. Jennifer Allen?
Yes.
Mary Brenner Miller?
Yes.
Gloria Talowski?
Yes.
Raymond Whedon?
Yes.
Brian Spitznagel,
Yes.
Danny Linville.
Yes.
Okay, meeting, yes.
And Fred Nielsen would like to thank our keynote speaker Dan for his address.
Oh, thank you. I thought he did a great job too. Meeting adjourned. Dan Posey did a great job talking, and thank you, everybody. It went real well.